Good to see you back. This film is one of my favourites and I think the best film that Hitchcock ever made. It's a tense and engaging story, brilliantly shot in black and white, with a noble, restrained central performance from a great actor. I'd call it a hidden gem. A film that doesn't have the appreciation or recognition it deserves. It is The Wrong Man from 1956. Hitchcock's influence is unmistakable due to the common threads that he wove through many of his films. It is the story of an innocent man wrongly accused. It has the authorities repeatedly getting it wrong until the main character is saved by a critical event that includes a touch of good fortune. And of course it has a Hitchcock blonde. At the same time it is quite different. There is a Hitchcock cameo but an unusual one, and more than most Hitchcock films it abandons the studio for some great location shooting. I think the 1950s was Hitchcock's best period as a filmmaker, and The Wrong Man is a real standout in this period. This is based on a true story, that of Christopher Emmanuel Manny Ballestero, who in 1951 was working as a musician at the Store Club in New York City when he was arrested and charged with the armed robbery of an insurance office. The pressure of the arrest caused Manny's wife Rose to have a breakdown, and she was admitted to a sanatorium. During the court case, the actions of a juror resulted in the judge declaring a mistrial. While awaiting a retrial, the real culprit, Charles James Daniel, was caught in the act of robbing a grocery store, and Manny was freed. In 1953, journalist Herbert Breen wrote an article called A Case of Identity for Life magazine, detailing Manny's arrest and subsequent release. At the same time, he also sold a screen treatment of the story to Warner Brothers. In August of 1955, Angus MacPhail began work on a screenplay which formed the basis for this film. The Manny Ballestero case was depicted on TV in Robert Montgomery Presents and the game show To Tell the Truth. In the film, Hitchcock deliberately left out some of the information that pointed to Manny's innocence, which heightened the tension of the on-screen story. Hitchcock also utilised some of the locations where the events of the real-life story took place and included some of the actual witnesses. Amongst these are the jail cell where Manny Ballestero was incarcerated, the caretakers at the country inn and the inn itself, and the sanitarium where Manny's wife was committed. As much as Hitchcock hated filming his movies on location, he used so many to underline the film's authenticity, and as I said, some of the location shots are absolutely fabulous. This was the only time Henry Fonda worked with Alfred Hitchcock. He was over 50 at the time of filming, despite playing a character who was 38. But Fonda is the right choice for the role. Just like the real Manny Ballestero, he remains calm and composed. He puts his faith in the legal system and the belief that justice will prevail, even when it seems highly likely that it won't. The movie includes a number of interesting cameos. Harry Dean Stanton appears as a Department of Corrections employee, and a 13-year-old Tuesday World is seen briefly as a young giggling girl. Hitchcock films are famous for cameos by the director, and in this film they are quite unusual. Originally Hitchcock had intended to be seen as a customer walking into the Store Club, but he edited himself out of the final print. He also filmed a cameo standing in a restaurant as Manny sits, a moment that is captured in one of the film's lobby cards, but one that doesn't appear in the film. He decided instead on using a narrated prologue, believing that the levity of a cameo would work against the serious tone of the film. Hitchcock appears only in silhouette in a darkened studio just before the credits at the beginning of the film, announcing that the story is true, the only time that he spoke in any of his movies. Many scenes were filmed in Jackson Heights, the neighbourhood where Manny lived when he was accused. Most of the prison scenes were filmed amongst the convicts in a New York City prison in Queens, and the courthouse that was located at the corner of Catalpa Avenue and 64th Street in Ridgewood was also used. Bernard Herrmann composed the soundtrack, as he had for all of Hitchcock's films from The Trouble with Harry in 1955 through to Marnie in 1964. It is one of the most subdued scores that Herrmann ever wrote, and one of the few he composed with some jazz elements, primarily to represent Fonda's appearance as a musician in the nightclub scenes. The film's reception was mixed. The New York Times described it as frighteningly authentic, but lacking in drama. The Los Angeles Times agreed, saying it proves that life can be more interesting than fiction. The Washington Post wrote, "Having succeeded in often making fiction seem like fact, Alfred Hitchcock in The Wrong Man now manages to make fact seem like fiction." The Monthly Film Bulletin said that the film started well but suffered a slow decline into a flat, factual ending. On a more positive note, Variety called the film a gripping piece of realism that builds to a powerful climax. Harrison's Reports called it grim but absorbing, and made special mention of the performances of Henry Fonda and Vera Miles. Jean-Luc Godard, in his lengthy treatise on the film, wrote, "The only suspense in The Wrong Man is that of chance itself. The subject of this film lies less in the unexpectedness of the events than in their probability. With each shot, each transition, each composition, Hitchcock does the only thing possible for the rather paradoxical but compelling reason that he could do anything that he liked. The film ranked 4th on Cahiers du Cinema's top 10 films of 1956. This is one of Martin Scorsese's favourite Alfred Hitchcock movies and was an influence on his film Taxi Driver from 1976. More recent assessments have been more uniformly positive. Website RogerEbert.com says the film may be the least fun of Hitchcock's Hollywood period, but that it is as fluently styled a movie as Hitchcock ever made. Richard Brody of The New Yorker wrote that few films play so tightly on the contrast between unimpeachably concrete details and the vertiginous pretenses of reality. Hitchcock's ultimate point evokes cosmic terror. Innocence is merely a trick of paperwork, whereas guilt is the human condition. In 1998, Jonathan Rosenbaum of the Chicago Reader included the film in his list of the best American films not included in the AFI's Top 100. It is among the American Film Institute's top 400 most heart-pounding American films and is included amongst the 1001 movies you must see before you die. So lots of reasons to watch this film. I think it's Hitchcock's best, but it's also a film that is rarely mentioned amongst his great films, which for me makes it a hidden gem. It has fabulous cinematography and a standout performance by Henry Fonda. So what I suggest you do is, go to our website, find our virtual screenings page, find the link to this particular film, click on it and watch it, and we'd love you to come back as always. Let us know what you thought about this particular film and whether you'd recommend it for others. And then we'll see you back again in the not too distant future for our next classic films review. Catch you next time.